Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode slash edition slash installment of Free Thinkers. I'm one of the hosts, Q. I'm sure Nick will be in soon. We got some other people be in soon, and hopefully you'll be in soon. So, just want to give you guys a quick rundown before we get started. Keep in mind this is adult material, content, and language, so operate accordingly.
At all
Also, you say what?
at all times.
At all times.
At all
And
times. We love
then,
it, but not here.
yeah, this is not for the kids unless you I was thinking about I might bring my son to a live meeting one of these days.
Look, we talked about this, and I would love to do that. So we will have something that is like teenager age appropriate. Like now, if you're just funny about your kids hearing the F
Right.
word, don't bring them around me.
Right,
But I
exactly.
promise you, we will speak unto children in a way that children, will hear what needs to be said. So
I mean,
would
by the
say,
time they're in high school, we can't say nothing that they haven't already heard.
if
It's just a
even
matter if you
like
want them to be
we're
in
in
that place.
trouble in middle school. They
Oh yeah,
they're hitting our kids in elementary school, so we got to talk to them.
oh yeah. We talked. Our language was worse in middle school than it was in high school.
Yeah, no, but I do love that idea though. I would love for those of us who are local. I mean, and maybe we can do it both ways. We can do it online, so other people that have kids that are outside of our area can also include their children as well. But I think that it is important. I mean, we're doing this because of our kids, right? So like, we just don't want people listening, on speaker in the car when y'all traveling, because that might be an interesting ride. You know what I mean? So
Right.
you
Yeah,
gotta
you
be
gotta
prepared. You have
listen
to.
at your own risk.
You got to be prepared. Yeah, it's very adult content.
But yeah, make sure that you comment, make sure that you like, make sure that you share. For those of you who don't know, first of all, it doesn't cost anything to like, comment, or share. Just take a click of the finger. If you're on here, just hit like on there. Do I care? Not necessarily, but the algorithms do care, and we want to make sure that this gets out to as many people as possible. If this conversation has value, so make sure that you just participate and build up the activity in it. If you like to get on, all you have to do, go to, first of all, you should be a part of our group page. If you're not, go to Facebook and go to Free Thinkers, the group page. Then you can find the click. You can click on the link, go to StreamYard. If you've never been on StreamYard before, it's very simple. Just click on it and follow the instructions, and you'll be in a couple seconds. We'll let you in the room. Make sure you have something. What's that?
Are you showing live? I'm not showing live on my page.
Let me see.
I mean, I see that it's obviously saying live up there in the box, but it's not popping up on my page.
Not showing on mine either.
And it says live, so I know you hit the button, but I'm like, hold up, let me check YouTube. If anybody is listening to us, where are you? Okay, so I don't know who that is. WF is on YouTube.
So yeah, it looks like when I'm looking up there, it looks like it's only sharing to YouTube. You didn't have it shared to your page or mine.
I did, but it had problems, and I redid it like 3 or 4 times. And the last time it went through, and that's when I posted the link to the Facebook. Okay, so it's not showing up on our feeds at all. Obviously not.
No, I just clicked and saved it. I tried to save the changes to see if it was.
I don't know. I don't know if it will if once we've already started.
Right. Once you're already on. And I definitely don't see it on mine now.
Well, that's all right. Shit. Shout out to our friends over in our YouTube. See, now it's on my live. Now it's showing up. Shout out to the friends over on the YouTube channel who are absolutely following us on our YouTube channel. Make sure that you do hit that subscribe button. Please, please, please hit the subscribe button and hit the share button. Like Q said, it's free. It's literally free to hit the share button. And that's how we grow. That's how we reach more people. So it is live now on Facebook and on YouTube. That's interesting how it wasn't there at first, though.
Well, I had to click on it and change it.
Okay.
Not showing on mine, but I can go to yours if it's showing in
well, and it did say that it lost connection to yours earlier too, so it might just be tripping with you.
It could be something. Are you sharing for Free Thinkers, or you want me to do that?
I can't. I'm making mine public right now, so I can go. You want me to put the Facebook over there, or you want me to put the YouTube over there?
I could do it. It's fine. I see it as share. I could do all of that actually. It's
okay.
Fine. But yeah. So another thing is, if you live in the Austin area, anywhere in the vicinity, you definitely want to come out to our once a month in-person meetings. They
So
pretty
that's
dope. They're pretty dope and they're pretty fun. It's an experience.
it
Um,
is.
and
And I know
thank everyone for coming out last week. It was real fun. The food was real good. I got it in real well before I started on my diet,
you want
recalibrating again.
another one?
Not a long one. It's just a 30-day. Just get me back in my right range.
Feel you on it.
But yeah, it was real fun. Food was real good. We have a whole group of people who show up at the live meetings that you may not see on the virtual meetings. And so everybody's not as comfortable just being in the digital space like that. But meeting in person, I think that was also a good idea that we said that we don't record. It's just the conversation we have is the conversation that we have, and it's between us and the people who was there. So real good conversation. But we're actually going to bring the topic over to this week, which we were talking about truthfulness and transparency, or truthfulness versus transparency, and just evaluating where you are and where you stand when it comes to how truthful, how honest, and how transparent you are. And that was the conversation. What did you take away from the conversation last week, Nikki?
I loved last week, and as you were talking about, inviting people to come out to an in-person on Tuesday, the last Tuesday of every month. And we say this like every Tuesday when we get off of here, and we say it every Tuesday when like we're done with our in-person, but like, man, this was a really, really good one. Like this might've been my favorite one. But like last week, because we have very intense in-person conversations, and they're only intense because those that show up are people who are very passionate about having conversation, but also I think they really appreciate the anonymity of coming and being able to have a conversation and it not be graded by everybody and their mama, right? So people have very, very open mindsets when they come. And last week we had maybe altogether there was maybe like, I don't know, 8-10 of us, right? So it was like a massively huge group of people, and it was people who are very familiar.
About 10. Yeah, about 10 people.
So they're familiar with how this is going to go and what the nature of the conversations usually consist of. But last week was just so eye-opening. I mean, so many different perspectives from different men and women, but it was very interesting just to hear how people grade their version of transparency, or grade their version of truthfulness, or the layers to truthfulness and transparency. So I really liked that because I just don't think that that's something that people talk about. We talked about towards the end of that, being real and and everybody talks about being real. Everybody talks about standing 10 toes down. But when you literally break down what does transparency and or truthfulness look like to you, it's easy to bring some of those things into question. So I just think it's a very good on the table, open conversation. And so we do have that habit. Whatever we do in person, we're going to follow up live, or if we have one live, we're going to jump, in person with the same topic. So I was excited to continue this conversation with our social media family because it is a great conversation to be had.
Absolutely.
Do you have any particular takeaways last
week? Yeah, I think people be lying. Well, you know what? I ain't gonna say lying. Because I believe, because first we went scale of 1 to 10. How truthful do you feel, or how truthful or honest do you feel that you are? And everybody gave their number. And then we went down some different aspects of truth and honesty, but then we talked about scale of 1 to 10, how transparent you are. And that's where I think there's a big difference between truthful and transparency. I think you got to really think about transparency in a different way. It's not the same as being truthful. And when people start giving, I'm a 9, I'm a 10. No, there's maybe 1% of people that I've met and known in this world that is truly extremely transparent. There's very few people, and that's something that I said you got to work on. For some people, it's almost like you either got to be born with it almost, or it's something that you have to work on constantly. But it's nothing that just, oh yeah, I'm transparent. I am. Nah. So that's the part I disagree with. And I'm like, I beg to differ. I'll push back on that, but I ain't gonna tell somebody how they feel about themselves. But I just don't see.
Right. But you're right. Transparency is that's a very tough thing. Transparency is vulnerability at the highest level. And vulnerability is really fucking uncomfortable. Like, that's a very, vulnerable place to be.
Right.
So a lot of folks are not okay with transparency because it requires vulnerability.
So, I got a good one. So, as we're talking about that, and you know what? I should have got your number first, Denise, before we said anything. But just think about the people on the show, the people in Free Thinkers, the people that's closest to you. How much do you know about them? No, especially no, because if your best friend people, that's easy. That's too easy because you share a lot with people that you know. But say, for instance, Free Thinkers. Outside of Free Thinkers, me and Nikki talk on occasion, but we don't just be chopping it up all the time. Me and Denise, most of our interaction is on Free Thinkers. So then the question is, how much do you know about me, or how much do I know about you outside of what's spoken on Free Thinkers?
Right.
That speaks to transparency right there. That speaks about how vulnerable you are about your life and your inner thoughts and emotions and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, do you really know? All well, that would be a question.
But I agree with, and I don't know who this is. I don't know who WF is. I agree with that statement. It depends on who the person is, right? Because I feel like for me, like, and to your point, like, I don't literally actually just be on the phone, right? Like, I'm never on the phone.
Right.
Like, I just don't get on the phone. So when people are like, we never talk, I'm like, I don't talk to anybody. I just had this conversation with mom earlier. I just don't be on the phone. I don't talk, right? We can go to dinner every night of the week. You can come over 7 nights a week, but I'm not going to get on this fucking phone. But I feel like I feel like my willingness to be a very transparent person allows people to get to know me first anyways. So I might not know you all the way. You may think that you know so much more about me than I know about you. And I'm okay with that, because I need you to either like me or not like me before I invest my time in trying to understand where your vulnerabilities are and where your transparencies are, right? But I also feel like when you are a transparent person, it allows people to be a little bit more authentic as well. Now, they can obviously be manipulative given they know things that you don't know that they know, right? But I think that being transparent allows people to be open or safe with somebody, to then be able to let, say, me into your life, to know about you on a deeper level, or to know about you, farther than just the conversations that we have, right? And I think that is, I think that when you get into like the different layers of friendship with people, that's where it's important to understand, like, I don't have to have a best friend. I'm super okay with just having great friends, because I mean that. And for me, I think it's because of the transparency issue.
I agree with that. Denise, scale of 1 to 10, how truthful would you say you are?
Hold
on. So you ain't telling me who's away.
That's my mama.
So let me ask you a question, Nikki. Why do you think some people are more than others? Whether it's truthful, transparent, why do you think there are some people that are just more than others? Is it just strictly personality, DNA, or is it, what do you think?
I think it's a person's confidence level. I think it's a person's security level within self.
I had that written down under that.
Everything is based on security or insecurities of self. From those two, you're going to go one or two directions. You're going to go in self-defeating mode, or you're going to go in, the opposite, right? Like self-empowerment mode. And so I think whether it is intentionally or unintentionally, whether it's conscious or unsubconscious, I think if you are just an insecure person, you're going to approach everything from that lens. So insecurity, shame, guilt, self-hatred, remorse. There's so many fucking reasons why people use something else as their filter anything other than transparency. See me for whoever I can present myself to be, but don't see the real me, because, oh my God, if you have to see the real me, you know, that might not be a pretty person.
Right. You ashamed of people seeing the real you.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's shame, and then I think there's also protection.
Well, hold on. Time out, Denise.
What's my number?
Yeah, scale of 1 to 10. How truthful? How truthful? Just stick to truthful. How truthful would you say you are? Scale of 1 to 10.
I would say 8.
Okay. Where is the other 2 missing?
Some shit people just don't need to know.
Okay.
You know,
so it's
what I mean?
not necessarily you would lie, but you would withhold the truth if it's on the need.
Oh, for sure, I'm a withholder. It's like, you may this. Yeah, I probably need to know this. Is this going to be helpful or more? Is it going to be more helpful or hurtful? And then decide what I want to say from there. Like my mom used to tell me all the time when I was younger, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Because I used to be so blunt. Because I thought if it was the truth, I could say it. I was too blunt. And so
we got into this last week with hurtful, being intentionally hurtful.
I wasn't intentional. I just was calling the truth. I just felt like if it was the truth, it should be said, but that's not always the case. And then there's a way to say it. And sometimes I may not know any other way to say it because I still like innately am a very blunt person. So especially if I'm at my wit's end with something, I don't know how to say it any other way than the way that I'm thinking. And so I was like, let me just wait. Let me not say this. It's not going to come off the way it needs to. It's not going to communicate what I need to communicate in this moment. So it may not even be a point in bringing it up.
Another question. Where does honesty rank when it comes to the relational hierarchy of what's important in relationships? Where does honesty land in that hierarchy?
For me, honesty, I would have to give it number 1, because let me tell you why though. Because even if you aren't the best communicator, because communication is like 2, or it's a 1A, 1B situation. Because it don't matter how honest you are, if you can't communicate, you're fucked.
Right. Ain't nobody here. They're not hearing what you're saying. Right.
Okay.
Right. But honesty is up there because, like, you know what's crazy? I was messing with a dude back in the days, a couple of summers ago. Me and him were like in a situationship. And then he ended up getting down with this girl that I had been around. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, why didn't you tell me about this situation? Like, what is this? And he was honest and told me what happened. He admitted he made the first move. And what happened was it made me trust him more. Because when I came to him to question him about something, he didn't lie to me about it. So I ended up being like, oh, okay. Even though this would hurt my feelings or make me feel some type of way, you were very honest with me about it. So I thought I could trust him because of the honesty. But then there's a way to manipulate honesty too, because then you created a space for me to be like, oh, he will tell me the truth. I can just do whatever now because I know he's going to be honest with me. Not true. Because he was a withholder of information, which is very dishonest.
So, okay. So, that's what I was just going to that. Nikki and Denise, is there, because we've been interchanging these words, but let me ask you, is there a difference between honesty and truthfulness?
Is there a difference between the two, honesty and I don't think that there is a difference between honesty and truthfulness, because neither of them are emotionally intention based, right? Like, one isn't nicer than the other, one isn't more gentle than the other, like one isn't more, so like being honest and being truthful, you can still be hurtful in both, you can be helpful in both, you can be clear in both. So I don't think there's a difference between the two. I'll be curious to hear what your feedback is.
No, I'm wondering. So, because what Denise said something when she talked about
manipulating honesty,
right? Not just manipulating it, but certain people withholding honesty. Not that they're going to be dishonest or going to be a liar, but if you withhold it, versus someone who freely gives their truth or their honesty, what's the difference, and what do we call that, between the difference between someone who freely gives the truth and someone who is more selective and withholds it?
Growing up, my dad called that lying by omission. So like we would get in trouble for lying by omission. Like, yeah,
But
you
I
didn't
can't call. But okay, let's go back to what
tell
Denise
information.
just. Go back to what Denise said. I was like, all right, where are the other two missing? She was like, some things I don't feel like I need to share with you. So even if I'm being open and honest about, I don't want to share that with you, that's still withholding.
Yes.
It's circumstantial for sure.
It is
very circumstantial.
It is.
So are there two different definitions, or just a different scale of honesty
between truth and honesty? You can tell the truth but not be honest, right?
I think the question is between truthfulness and transparency. I think truthfulness.
Well, I already know that. I know that's a huge difference. I already know that, but I'm trying to separate the difference between. I don't know if truthful and honest are different things, but I know there's a difference between someone who's open to give you the truth versus someone who withholds. Babe, does this dress make me look fat? Yeah, that dress make you look a lot fatter than the other dress did. Versus, does this dress make me look fat? What do you think?
Right.
Okay.
Those are two. I can have the same thought in my mind, but give you a different response. What do we call those? I'm not sure. I'm asking.
For me, truth and honesty aren't the same thing, because you can tell the truth and not be honest. Because if I said to a man, are you sleeping with this woman? And he says, I am not sleeping with this woman, but he knows, are you having sex? He told the truth. He is not sleeping with her, but
playing
he was
semantics,
not honest.
but
right.
So there is, like, you can be truthful and not be honest.
That's that technical truth,
okay,
but the intent was to mislead.
The World Wide Web says the main difference between truth and honesty is truth refers to the absolute reality of facts, whereas honesty is a quality of being sincere and being able to represent ideas in an accurate, convincing manner.
Okay, that's kind of like what Denise said. Like, somebody could be truthful but not really be honest. Like, oh no, I'm not sleeping with her.
Or the quality.
We never slept. After I finished, I got up and left.
That's
was
just
it the truth? Yeah. Was it honest? No.
Situation,
Bill Clinton, I did not have sex with that woman.
I did not inhale.
Oh yeah. Oh, y'all ain't asked me about head. Y'all said that I have sex with her. No, I ain't have sex with her.
Right. What kind of
She
sex?
just gave me some top. But you didn't ask me that
that's
though.
Not that kind. But that's lying by omission. To me, that's lying by omission.
And I think, and for me, it goes back to intent. Your intent was to mislead or deceive.
Right.
And that's, because sometimes I could say something wholeheartedly and believe it, and then it might be true. And then somebody be like, oh man, my bad, I lied. I'm like, no, you didn't lie. You misunderstood what you thought.
Mm-hmm.
I don't call someone who, if they wholeheartedly believe something, no, they misspoke or they were misinformed or they gave wrong information, but that I don't look at that as lying.
Yeah.
Okay, now,
don't know, you don't know, but if you do know and you're still omitting,
it goes back to intent for me.
Like by omission comes from for me.
Well, I mean, there's like, so let's say I'm on a family call, right? And the kids are on the call, and maybe somebody's sick. That's not information they need to know. We might have to talk about that a little bit differently if the kids are present.
Right.
Because there's just certain things kids don't need to know or understand. It's a certain weight they don't need to carry. So I gotta.
Nikki don't believe that.
No. It's not that I don't believe it, but we talked about this last week, and I was very adamant about this, that there are ways that you can still be truthful in every age appropriate level. Like, you can make anything age appropriate. There's no way that I can't talk to my children about everything that needs to be discussed in the event I need to discuss certain things. I just don't talk to them like I would talk to you or talk to Q or talk to my other adult friends. Like, I'm always going to give a child the truth. I'm always going to be transparent, but you don't do it in the same way you do to somebody else who has a different vocabulary and a different level of understanding of words and information and what those things mean. But I don't think that I don't think that we should lie to anybody, let alone to children, right? And I think that because we do this, and because we do it maybe with good intention, because the children don't need to know that somebody's sick. The kid doesn't need to know that somebody may be like, we don't need to fucking tell them everything, but maybe we should start having these conversations, right? Like maybe we should find ways to be honest with children so that they don't grow up in this fairy tale land and shit come crashing down on their fucking heads when they actually have to deal with some real life shit. But by nature, we want to save and protect them and make sure they're okay. But a lot of that is because we weren't spoken to properly. We weren't talked to and given the tools to be able to understand feelings and emotions and shit like that. We just shove shit under the rug and, you know, act like shit ain't what it is. And then we're fucking 40 years old in therapy because we can't figure shit out. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm a firm believer in speaking to children in a way in which they can understand. I would never talk to most people's kids the way I talk to adults, but you can best believe they're going to get a fraction of what I'm saying intentionally, just in a way in which a child could receive the information and process and understand. And me, that's how I have been able to grow very trustworthy, safe relationships with most children I come across because they fucking know. They're so smart. They know. You know what I mean? So I do believe in finding ways to still be transparent and honest. Most people just don't have the strength and the confidence in themselves sometimes to be able to break that conversation down to a little person because you know they're going to ask questions.
Right. I mean, I just think some stuff is unnecessary. Like if I'm on the phone and then my dad starts talking about whatever procedures he's getting done, like this ain't the place. This is not the time or place for that. These kids are on the phone. Right. They don't need to know that you know, they just don't. But then there's levels, right? Because then if it's getting to life or death and you need to give them a heads up.
Yeah, see, Denise, you told us a story about that where you told off on the rest. They told you don't tell nobody, and you turned around and told.
Yeah,
we gotta hop on a plane. We gotta go out of town. We gotta pack some shit up and leave until whatever. Like my kids had to watch us, you know, take care of our dad till he died. There was just shit you can't keep from them, and you know, you can lie and you can fluff it and you can make it look pretty because it feels better. But at the end of the day, when this person dies and everybody else has lost their fucking shit, who are these kids supposed to turn to? Where do they get their comfort and where do they get their solace from? If everybody else is losing their shit, but just yesterday everybody was fine, right? Like that to me, that's like hella manipulation. And I don't even think it's intentional, but that's like inadvertently what's happening.
Do you think there's
what also happens in situations like that, there's you may be braced or prepared for something, but then you didn't prepare the kids for it. And now when it does happen and they do pass, then they're devastated as to where you had kind of a chance. I remember that with my grandfather. Like I didn't know how close he was, but the rest of the family kind of knew. And then when it happened, then me and my cousin, we were devastated. You know, had we known and kind of been able to start mentally preparing for it, may have been different, a little bit different, you know.
Sure.
What were you saying, Denise?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I think it was kind of along those lines. Like, do you want at what age do you have these conversations, right? And then, like, do you think kids can hear information and still be present and enjoy the time, or are they going to be like constantly thinking, oh, this person's about to die? Like, I don't know how kids comprehend.
Denise,
like, do they know how to do that? You know what I mean? It's hard for
I had to catch myself. My daughter, she's 11 now, but she may have been 7, 8 at the time. And you know, I'm just doing my free thinking, talking. Oh, you know this, and I'm telling them about something. I'm like, you know, because you know, Daddy getting old, he ain't gonna be around forever. And you know, when this happens, then I'm saying, and then she's like, no, Dad, you're not that old. You're not old, Dad. What she was saying is, I don't want you to die anytime soon. And I saw the whole look on her face and her whole countenance, and she started getting kind of sad. And, you know, I'm talking just about the process of life later on down the road, but she took it and she started trying to push back at me. No, Dad, you're not old. You're not old. You're going to, and she, even after we got out the car and we in the house, she mentioned it later to somebody else, you know, that, and I had to pull back. Like I got to be careful how I'm presenting something in a certain way because she wasn't ready for that.
Right.
Or just the way I casually speak on it. And what is getting old or deaf to a 7-year-old? Like they may understand deaf for certain people, but what does it mean? Like I will gradually get old and pass, you know, just I will, if I don't die of some accident, then I'll eventually die of old age. That don't, a 7-year-old don't know what that means. They're going to live forever as far as they understand.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I have to, you know, in certain things like, and so then it was like, how would I even say that? You just have to be very careful how you say it to kids. There is a certain age to where that conversation probably just is a little too delicate to have right now.
Well, I think that another part to that too is also the environment in which you create, right? So like for me, I am a lot more confident in, let's say, my children's space, right? Mental, emotional, physical, spiritual space, to where maybe their ability to process some of that information and, you know, retain that information is hopefully done in a manner in which it is less harmful than situations where children are in spaces, environments where that is not fostered anyways, right? So like to what Stacey's point, Stacey said she learned, I learned who not to trust as a kid because when I learned that I was lied to and nothing was explained, it just told me that adults lie. And that for me is my biggest issue with a lot of things, you know, but you know, religion.
A lot of it's circumstantial though. Okay, so maybe a grandparent or they may be somewhat ready to receive that, but a parent, a lot of kids, they not ready. Listen, my parents are heading to their 70s and I ain't ready for it yet. Like, hold on.
Well, of course, but you know, you better get ready.
Of course. Right, but I'm saying this, I'm talking about me as a 40-some-year-old person versus me trying to explain that to a kid. That's two different things. And most adults ain't really ready for it. We get as ready as we can be, but we still ain't ready for it.
But it's
I'm just saying there are certain, we try to make this an umbrella thing, like, oh, we just be truthful all across the board, and there's a way to say in some instances, depending on who we're talking about, if I'm talking about myself and my child is of a certain age, yeah, that conversation that's a few more years down the road.
Right.
That's just, it ain't I don't know of another way to say it. That conversation is just going to be a few years down the road.
It's the same thing that can be said when your kid's pet fish dies, and when your kid's pet hamster dies, and when your kid's dog dies.
Hamster ain't the same as a parent.
No, but to not underestimate the things at which they may or may not be able to grasp the concept of is out of our fearful space.
Okay, but maybe we can use a hamster or a gerbil to talk about the process of death in a way that they can get it. But I learned it ain't. I bet I don't need to put myself in that blank right now. They ain't ready for that. Let's talk about the gerbil or the cat that died first, and then we start understanding the progression of life. But just throwing yourself in there,
I think
I'm with Nikki on this introduction.
Oh, go ahead, Ivory.
I was just saying I'm with Nikki on this one. I think the
record, I fucking love when Ivory agrees with me, so just put that down.
Hold on just a second, Ivory. Anna, if you go to the hold on a second. Anna, if you go to the Facebook page, and then on the banner there's a link. All you do is just click on it. It says StreamYard, click on the StreamYard link. And then it'll take you in, and then once you get in the waiting room, we'll pop you in. What are you saying, Ivory?
I'm with Nikki on this one. I think at the level they can understand, the soon as you can introduce that concept to them, the better. So for
Ivory,
me,
you disqualified.
Why?
Because your oldest daughter, she done been here before. She don't even
I know, and so, but this is the thing. She taught me. because I can't BS. I can't make stuff up with her. Like, that's just not going to happen. So she's gonna ask. She wants to know. So
okay, but that's her.
listen,
if you try that with the other two, then it may not go over as well.
I'm
saying it's just circumstantial. Is what I'm saying.
Listen, this is what I'm saying. I have to do it with the other two because of who she is. So my youngest, daughter is saying that, man, I don't want to die. And she's like, oh, you gonna die one day. Just make sure you don't go to hell. That's my oldest. She's 6 when she says this to her.
Wow.
And my youngest is 4. Like, that's who she is. So she's like, mommy, oh, I'm just going to love you forever. And I was like, oh, I'm going to love you forever too. No, you can't love me forever, mommy, because one day you're going to croak. But I'm still going to love you, and you're going to be in my heart. Thanks, love. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like,
you're speaking from an individual situation, which is what I'm saying. But go ahead.
This is still what I'm saying. Okay. At any
I think we're going to agree to disagree on this one, but
I think a part of it is who she is, but a part of it is something I decided is that I would never lie too much. Like, I wouldn't sugarcoat things. I wouldn't lie. I would try to explain things on their level, but I would not make things up ever.
Well, that's very different.
Well, that's not, I didn't say make anything up.
Holding. Yeah, that's very different from
even withholding. Right. If you ask, I'm going to find a way to describe it to you on your level. I'm never going to blow you off.
Right.
Sometimes
I didn't say blow somebody off either. I don't think those same things.
6-year-old is asking you really complicated questions about life. And what we got was somebody just said, that's above you. Don't worry about that right now. I never say don't worry about that right now. We going to talk about it. If you ask, we're going to talk about it. So my kids do talk about death and other things more than I hear other children talk about, because if they bring it up, I just talk to them about it.
Right.
I think that's very different from withholding. I think if someone's coming to you with questions that they want to know answers to versus volunteering information, I think is very different. You know what I'm saying?
But Denise, don't you think most children are curious until they learn to not be curious because they get put off so much?
Well, let them be curious about the things they have questions about. If they don't pose the question, maybe they're not curious about that.
Everything, and they learn which questions to stop asking.
Yeah, I was curious about pornography in the 5th grade, but that wasn't the best thing for me to be seeing.
I can actually agree with that. Having a forever 17-year-old, I remember her growing up asking me all kinds of questions, and to the point where Nikki was talking about, like, we just kind of like got shrugged off to the corner or whatever when we asked questions, like, that doesn't concern you. That was kind of instilled into me because, like, in our culture, like most of it's none of your business. It's grown folks talk. That's what we were taught, and that's what I was teaching her. And I'm a really big advocate for therapy. So as she got older and I got wiser, I started being able to effectively communicate. And we talked about this last week, where I did agree with Nikki as far as there are ways to talk to different people and give them the same type of truth, but dissect it in a different manner. So I gotta agree with the one in the corner and Nikki. Like that, I think that it's definitely beneficial for your children to know, because that way they're prepared.
Can I ask a question?
Can
you put the names up so we can see the names?
Yes, sorry.
Can I chime in really quick? In regards to what you guys are speaking about with children, I think it's contingent upon their maturity level, because everybody receives information differently. So if a child asks a hardcore question, they may not be ready for the answer, and it'll probably just go over their head, and you have to probably spoon feed them that. But it also may be that their maturity level is not there old enough to receive the information based on the question that they're asking. So it's very important to be aware of that because children mind are like a sponge.
Mm.
So if you feed them that information, they're going to retain that, and then more questions are going to pop up, and it may be more difficult for you to answer those questions later on because they're always curious. So yeah, and that's even true to some adults. Some adults ask questions and whatnot, and they may not be ready for the answer because the truth is very hardcore, it's very unfiltered. But with the transparency of that, you just got to kind of pick your spots on whether if you want to withhold that information or what if you want to reveal that information, depending on the maturity of the child.
Yeah. I have a
Yeah,
question.
I agree.
Shout out to Anna. Is this your first time? If it is, welcome. But my
Anna's
question,
been live with us. She's come
for
live
real?
for the last 2 months.
Really? I
She came
wasn't
in
there
person. She came in
Yeah,
person.
you ain't
in
there.
Oh,
person.
yeah,
Oh,
she's
Yeah.
in
Oh,
person.
I'm sorry. I
oh,
mean, when I say live, I mean live in person. My
It's her
bad.
first. I
okay.
think
She in the
Yeah.
flesh, in the flesh.
yeah,
Okay.
it's her first time doing
Yeah.
it.
This is a question I want to ask the group. Has knowing someone was about to die actually help you grieve, or did you still feel the same amount of grief even though you knew it was coming? So my grandma died, I knew it was coming. It changed nothing once she died.
Well,
I
you
was
you you
just
may
as
not know if
torn
it
up
changed
about it.
anything.
But
Maybe it's gonna be rough either way, but it's still it's
can you
different when.
can you
Go ahead.
say that when you don't have? Can you say that when you don't have the same situation to compare it to? Like I couldn't compare losing my dad any other way than how I lost my dad, and I had 2 years worth of preparation. Right? Like, am I
Yeah.
any less devastated or fucked up today? Nope. I'm super devastated and super fucked up. So it didn't. I don't know if it would. I can only imagine it would actually
I
have been
think it
worse.
does.
I didn't have time to spend the last year doing all the things that we love to do and make sure we got that shit out of the way because once it's
Yeah.
over, we don't get to do it over again. So I don't know if you can compare
So
that.
had you not had that opportunity, then it's gonna hurt either way. It's gonna hurt either way. But to say if you didn't have the opportunity to do and say those things that you wanted to do and spend, I think it's still gonna hurt different. I just take it back to just simple in a fight. I used to box.
Mm-hmm.
It's the punch that you don't see coming is the one that knock you out. You can get hit hard, but if you see it coming, it still hurt. But you was able to brace yourself because you saw it coming. When you don't
Yeah.
see it coming, that's when you end up laid out on the floor.
So to that
Okay,
point,
so to that point,
when you have time and you have the ability to prepare, you're able to maybe come out of the other side of this with maybe less remorse or less guilt because you made amends or you said something that you needed to say as opposed to, oh, I wish I had the opportunity to say I love you one more time. Like
Right.
I think there's a
And that
huge
makes a difference. That makes a difference. You know how many people I know who they had a loved one die suddenly and it's
Right.
still the
Right.
fact that they didn't get to get those last words or tell them that they love them again. That still bothers them. Not just them leaving, but the fact that they didn't get to make those final amends. That bothers them just as much 10, 20 years later.
forever haunt you.
I
Right.
can, having been on both sides of that, and sorry, the loss of my daughter is really fresh. It'll be a year, April 3rd. So,
I'm sorry.
having I've lost my nephew, which was like my first son, to testicular cancer.
Mm.
So men, if you have any issues with your balls, all bullshit aside, like
Right.
if they hurt, if you ever felt a pinch in them, if you ever felt like a needle was in your ball sack for whatever reason, go check that shit out. Like
Right.
even if it's minor, like I am such a big advocate for like testicular health. And then for my daughter, like women, especially minority women, like make sure you go to the doctors if you're pregnant, because that's how I lost my kid, you know. So giving both of those examples, it's never easy because I was expecting my nephew to die. We were waiting for it. He was a stage 4 testicular cancer, and He went into remission, and we got a chance to do all the things, but it still didn't help the fact that it was still a loss.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Right.
um, it
I
wasn't a
was.
little
Oh,
easier.
not sure with that.
It was a little easier, but he
Right.
was still only 23 years old.
Right. If somebody passes young, that's gonna
That's
be
always
hard
hard.
regardless.
You
That's
That's
know,
always gonna be hard.
forever,
Yeah.
To uh,
forever
to
pain.
forever
for the
23. And then
nieces.
go ahead.
Hold on, you could
Oh
on.
no, go
Were
ahead,
you
finish
finished,
up.
Anna?
No, and
Yeah, go
then
ahead,
as
finish up.
far as my daughter is concerned, like I think that because I was more prepared for my nephew, um, that didn't take as long as the grieving is with my kid. Like
Mm,
me and my nephew, I raised him still the same like my daughter, but I wasn't expecting my daughter to die. Like she
Right.
came home with a headache,
mm,
and I never seen her again.
Mhm.
So grieving for her, I think as a sudden loss is a lot more difficult than being prepared for it. It still hurts the same,
yeah.
Right.
but you're able to say your goodbyes. You're able to be at peace in some way when you know that okay, they're really hurt, bodily hurt, and they're a vegetable of who they are or whatever have you. Their quality of life, you want that for them.
Yeah.
That's humane. But a sudden death I think it takes a toll on someone.
Yeah.
And thank you. Hi, I haven't never met you guys in person, and yeah, I've been there a few times.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to
No,
make it
it's
emotional.
okay.
That's why I turned the camera
No.
off because
That's what we do here. All right.
No, we cry. First of all, thank you for being transparent,
That-
right? Like to get on here and to feel vulnerable enough to share something like this. First of all, we want to say thank you and we appreciate you for being honest, being truthful, being transparent. And I can't even imagine how you feel, but just know like I will be praying for you because I know like the first year is kind of a blur anyway. Then you start going through the holidays, the birthdays, and all these things like that. But just know like this is a safe space for you to come, even if we're not talking about grief that day and we're just talking and you just want to be engaged with people so that you can, feel connection and community. Like please come back to Free Thinkers
Oh yeah.
anytime. And thank you for being so honest with us and sharing that.
No,
no,
Anna,
thank
she
you.
jumped in from the get go. We was at Spinners, and she was just going at our throats just from first 5 minutes. She was, she was
Well,
coming
that was
right
a
at
hot
us.
topic. That was
Um,
definitely a very, very hot topic for me. And, that was something that me and a few of my friends talk about regularly. And we were talking about white people, all white people being evil in a sense.
I was probably in the lone minority. Nikki's probably
That's
co-signing. I
funny.
don't remember the conversation. Nikki's probably co-signing on it.
let me
You
chime
really
in on
was.
Denise's question.
Go ahead, you can.
Yeah, yeah. In regards to your question, Denise,
Mhm.
the preparation when somebody's on their way out the door, um, you can make all the preparations you want, and it's going to sting one way or another.
Mm,
But I think the most as Q would put it, the hit that you don't see coming is the aftermath when
yeah.
that person is gone, and those thoughts or memories get to pop up, and you're
Mhm.
like, damn, that person ain't here anymore. It's that it's like that glue that sticks to you for a long period of time because that person is no longer there.
Yeah.
They can't come back. So the I think the aftermath is where it hits hard the most,
Yeah.
because the person is no longer there. You won't be able to hear them laugh, cry, be mad,
Yeah.
sad, or whatever. So yeah, to your question, Denise, that, you can make all the preparations in the world as far as like somebody's on their way out the door, spend time with them on their last days, do whatever, read a book or do flowers or whatever. But it's the aftermath, I think, where it's the toughest.
Yeah.
You
I
can
mean,
never, and I don't think you can ever be fully or properly prepared for something that you've never had to prepare for. However, I will say that, and grief is one of those things that you literally do not know how you're going to handle it until it actually happens, because every loss is different.
yeah.
I had some losses up until I lost my dad, but never had I experienced anything like the loss of my father, right? And I'm a firm believer in, for me, there was a part of me that also died with him when he died. And I'm okay with that today. And people don't tell other people that. So going through a very, very public, because I was very open about my dad's passing and his life leading up to him dying. And there was so many times throughout the course of that last year, especially, where I had girlfriends who were also dealing with losing their dad and losing a parent and having a very significant loss to them, say to me that just watching what y'all are going through is kind of telling me like what I need to start doing or what I should do, instead of run from my fears and be scared of my fears and avoid certain people and not do certain things. If I just act like it's not happening, then it doesn't have to happen, but that shit fucking happens. It happens. So I think that being transparent for some people, it is a very uncomfortable thing, but I think that but I say when you heal out loud, other people don't have to suffer in silence. And I think that is very, very fucking loud. And I think that children can understand that. And I think that deaf people can understand that, and people that speak other languages can understand that. People that can't see can understand that, right? Like, there's just things that happen in that space that no, you may never be able to be prepared for, but the way that we collectively share what happens when that happens can also be a huge bridge or comforter or hug or something to the next person that has no safe space to be able to even process what's about to fucking happen here.
Yeah.
I never wanted to be an advocate of, hospice care and how to love somebody at the end of their life. But I would be honored to walk through losing a loved one with somebody, because I know what that shit looks like. And you'll never be the same afterwards, but there's so much power in the time that you do still have to be able to do something with it to be most impactful, because we're all going to die. I just want the people that love me to be proud of me and know that shit, she did what she wanted on her way out, right? So if we can impart that into other people, be it our children, our loved ones, our immediate close circles, there's a comfort that is found in grieving with a collective of people that grieve. And I think that withholding what happens in that space is not doing anybody a service.
I agree. I agree.
Why are you
Really
talking
quick,
to me right now, Nikki?
Works.
really quick, in regards to dying or death or whatnot. I think the concept of hell or people going to hell has got folks on edge as far as like not looking forward to that, because they don't want to be in eternal punishment. So I think that's got people on edge as far as like, they don't want to, die or whatnot, because of that concept, or people being condemned to hell for whatever reason, based on what somebody says. But it goes back to, the power of words in somebody's speech, that, if you say that to somebody enough times, they're going to believe that. I think that concept is that concept that's been drilled in many people say, as far as the religious aspect, has got people on edge in regard. And I'm not speaking for everybody, but I'm just saying, if the shoe fits, as far as like and not embracing it, but not wanting to die in a sense, but knowing that it's going to happen one day.
Yeah, the
You took a
unknown
hard pivot
surrounding
on
it.
that one.
You mind if I? You mind if I?
Go ahead,
So,
free thinkers, think freely.
I mic dropped on this type of subject last time.
You had 12
I tried
mics
to
in
mic
your
drop. I
pocket,
picked that shit up a few times. I'll admit that.
Anna was like, I'm dropping the mic. And then she came and picked it back up. She picked that mic up about 5 times.
It was too hot. It was too hot. I couldn't put the mic down.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was me. But to your point, as far as the heaven versus the hell thing, aren't we living in hell right now?
That was my theory.
So in that aspect, I say this to those people that believe in an actual hell. Show me where it says that there is an actual hell aside from this earth. Because from my understanding, God sits on the top, right? Like if let's say if we believe the way that the Bible says, not the actual King James version, if we believe in that, that means that we are in a dome, right? God sits above us. Yeah. Okay. We're at the footstool. We're at his footstool. What's the footstool look like? It looks like a half dome, right? And so
You mean a
the
hemisphere?
angels were banished from heaven, which is above the dome. And that means that they are in the dome, right? So if the angels were banished and he was sent to this world, then aren't we actually living a hell on earth? And we are recreating. So then I would ask the people
Y'all
that
mix
aren't
hell
really
and flat earth
believing.
together in one topic. This is
And did.
amazing.
That's why Nikki over there smiling. I said, "Oh,
I
Nikki,
did not do
Nikki's
that.
having the time of her life right
So
now."
it takes somebody like, and I'm not gonna say like they just needed to study a little bit more in their beliefs instead of believing what everybody else is telling them. And that's what I would tell them. Like, look, I understand where you're coming from. I understand that you were scared to die. I understand that you believe that there is a hell after this and that we're going to be burning in eternal fire forever. But I think we are already burning in eternal fire.
I think it depends on how you view things. Because for me, like, if this is hell, I'm doing pretty good.
Hey,
if this is hell, I am definitely making the best of this shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like hell's
She
all
said,
right.
I'm living my best life right
It's
now."
all right.
This is
I
hell.
agree.
It's all right. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm having a good time.
T-shirt. That's gonna be on my next T-shirt. Watch it. I mean, hell, I'm gonna make the best of this shit.
Right. But I do want to say this though, to the point
deja vu.
talking about,
you live it all over again.
Yeah, I think like to a point of earlier where we say the preparation time made it easier for us to deal with the grief because there's so many things left unsaid. I think because we do avoid death, we treat every day like it's just another day. But if we were to really be present with the fact that, yeah, one day we're going to die, be present with the fact that one day our family's going to die, there will be no regret because you will treat every day as such. And of course, like in the back of your head, you're going to always wish you had more time, no matter how much you do.
Right.
No matter how much you tell them you love them and they love you, you will always want more time.
Right.
But as long as every chance you get, you're giving people their flowers, you take the time to call them when you can, but don't be down on yourself for the times that you couldn't, because love is an everlasting thing. One thing I learned about love when my grandma died is that love is so strong, it goes beyond death. I could still feel my grandmother loves me wherever she may be right now. And that is the beautiful thing about love. Even death can't take love from you. So that's kind of like the things that I've learned on my grief journey, but it's definitely like we got to be present and make sure that we are enjoying the lives that we have with the people we have for the time that we have them.
Oh, I had this conversation with Ivory before, and that's one of those. What did you do when you had the time with the people that you love?
Oof.
And not only what did you do, what are you doing with the people who are still here with you?
That
I do not. This gets it irritates me to death when people, are so sorrowful about when a loved one passes. But what did you do while they were here? Number one, and what are you doing now? What lesson did that teach you on how to treat the people who are here with you right now? That's why I don't hold grudges. And any relationship I can repair, I do repair it. If someone tell me to F off and they don't deal with me no more, and then they want to come back and like, my bad, hey, let's go back. We will have whatever relationship that we can have, and I don't hold grudges because life is way too short for that. See, and I will not be the one to go back looking like, man, I wish I would have. I ain't doing that. Already, once I hit a certain age and my mortality started to kick in, and I realized that I wasn't gonna live forever. I'm like, no, I gotta count. Like Denise said, I gotta count these days, and I'm not gonna count these days being unforgiving and holding grudges and not. No, I'm not doing that. That's me appreciating God's gift of life on this earth, making sure that I cultivate my relationships while I have the chance to.
I can halfway agree with that. I feel like if people have been given boundaries and they steady cross those boundaries, that it is a time for we can go back to the Bible. There is a season for everything. Mm-hmm. And there is a season for relationships to end, and growth happens. And sure. I don't have to hold any animosity, any grudges. I don't have to not forgive you. But there are some things that you're not going to come back from.
So the door's never shut on my side. But what I do, like I said, I compartmentalize. And if you cross me in a certain area, then I may not be able to deal with you in that area. But what areas can we deal with and cooperate, and cohabitate with? Maybe, all right, I loaned you some money and you don't pay money back. All right, I'm just not loaning you money anymore. But we still can be cool and we still can be kicking.
When you get into the bigger things, like, a constant, like I'll be transparent with you. How about that? Mm-hmm. Like I knew that my mother was toxic. And so I cut her straight the fuck off.
What do you mean by toxic?
So as it goes to your point in the corner, I don't see the name on the corner that was talking about the memories. I was an amazing mom. Like, I did everything for my daughter to have memories. I didn't do birthdays or anything like that, but I did trips to where she remembered for the rest of her life. Sure. I prayed with her every day, every morning, every night. I told her every single moment how beautiful she was, how much she was loved. Like, I spent most of my nights, I was single by choice for many, many years because I was focused only on her. Mm-hmm. So I did.
What you said when you talking about your mom toxic, what did you mean by that?
And I will tell you, I will go back to that. She went and she would call CPS on me all the time. Mm-hmm. The police on me all the time, doing wellness checks on me all the time, to the point where the police department came to my house and said, this is the last time. We will waive the restraining order fee if you want us to put it on her if she calls one more time. Right. And then CPS called and says that if she calls one more time, that they were already told her that if she called one more time, wasting the taxpayers' dollars on false allegations, that they were going to put a lawsuit on her. That kind of toxic.
Yeah.
So I had to leave that alone.
So that's not, and when you have to, then you have to. But the point is, I guess it's the mental focus. What can I do to have some sort of relationship? As long as you have the mindset of what is it that I can do, and sometimes the answer may be nothing at this point in time. Some may be, I might just be able to text her on her birthday and Christmas. If that's as much as you can do, then you do what you can do. But it's about the mindset of how you approach dealing with someone that's in your circle.
I totally agree. And, you know, if you do that, have that mindset over and over again, right? And they keep continuing to do the same thing, different ways or different things to you,
Right.
then at some point it just becomes a point where
Right.
you
And
just have
sometimes
to,
the answer is nothing.
Nothing.
I have relationships
Absolutely.
to where me and the person is not on speaking terms anymore. And it's not on my part, but I'm okay with that. It's
Okay.
not for you to force a relationship where there's no relationship to be had. But the point is, when there is something that you can do to draw yourself in, if you really love this person,
Okay.
if there's something that you can do, then do it. If not, then don't. But then just ask yourself, what I don't want to do, or I don't want to hear people doing, is when this person passes, oh, I wish I would have. No, you had the opportunity to do.
I feel that. I feel that 100%.
And sometimes it'll get to that point, and then there's sometimes people be like, I did everything I could do. I'm sorry that they're gone. I'm sorry that we couldn't have the relationship that we wanted to have. But yeah, I did everything I could do. And you will be all right living with the fact that you did what you could do, even though you missed them and you know you're gonna feel that loss.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. We might be back about at the end. We can cover a lot of ground. Let y'all jumping back to flat Earth and hell.
Well, you asked, did you
Earth
watch
is hell on earth.
last week? You still have
Hell
your
on earth.
last week.
I'm sorry. What you
what
say?
we were talking about last week?
Well, no, I was asking Q if you still have the questions that you had from last week. You know, 'cause
Oh
we
yeah.
talked-
Okay. Real quick, Ivory. Scale of 1 to 10. How honest are you?
7.
That's interesting. So
You said too, Q. I think you would feel like a 6.
I said like 7.5, 8. Yeah.
Because I questioned his number. I was like, "Are you sure you think that you're only that?" And so it's interesting dialogue after that. But okay, 7.
So where's the other 3? What's missing with the other 3?
I'm still learning how to put truth above comfort, my comfort and other people's comfort.
Yeah.
And it's a process. It's a process I'm still actively going through. So I know I still have a little ways to go, but it's something I'm actively working on. That's why I'm a 7. Because I think if you don't work on it, you're gonna be a 4 or 5. You know.
That's what I said about transparency. Yeah.
Right.
So Ivory, hold on. Let me throw this back in and we begin. So Ivory, my thought when I said I was telling Nikki this when we first started this show, I said I felt during the in-person meeting, I felt that a lot of people were, I don't want to say lying, but I felt that they weren't really examining themselves when it came to, I asked the same question, scale of 1 to 10, how transparent do you feel that you are? And a lot of people were saying 9s and 10s, and I was like, nah, I don't think so.
No.
Scale, let me ask you first though. Scale of 1 to 10, how transparent would you say that you are?
Okay. So first, let me just say this really quick. There's a difference between transparency and vulnerability.
Okay.
I am not a very vulnerable person. So like in the midst of pain and things, am I going to reach out and voluntarily show people all of my heart, my emotions? No, I'm not a vulnerable person. I'm a very transparent person though. Like I could tell you almost anything about me with a straight face. That's not vulnerability though. That's just, I don't mind sharing about my life. So on the transparency level, I would say about a 7, maybe. And why I would say 7 is I'm still very cognizant about the atmosphere. Times, atmospheres, what's appropriate, not appropriate, tact, things like that. So I'm not gonna share things if I don't think the right timing for it. So I know I'm not like a 9 or a 10 because I'm not just.
So quickly,
times and places.
Vulnerability scale of 1 to 10. Where would you say you at?
Ooh, Lord, I'm not.
Ooh-wee.
I'm not great at that. I'm maybe a 4.
You know what? Oh my
5.
God. So Nikki, I was just about to ask you if you thought that there was a difference between transparency and vulnerability. But then as I thought about the scale of 1 to 10, my numbers are different between transparency and vulnerability. So now I kind of answer my own question as far as what I think, but what do you think?
See, and we talked about this last week too. For me, and we talked about it at the beginning as well. I think for me, you can't be you can't be transparent without vulnerability. I think that there are levels to vulnerability. Like we talked about last week, there's certain things I wouldn't share, like intimate things are only to be shared with intimate partners, right? Like certain things are you just don't be transparent about everything with everybody. There's levels in which you're able to share. There's ways in which you're able to share.
Wait, okay. Just let me throw this in here, though, Nikki. Let me just throw this in here. Just think about the word vulnerable.
Sure.
So if you're fighting or something and you have a vulnerability, that means something about you is open to be hurt.
Sure.
So like you left your kidney open for a stab or something. That's vulnerability.
Right.
So I'm saying when I say I'm transparent, I could tell you tons of things about my life. And even if you threw it back in my face or it
ain't gonna hurt me.
I'm so settled with what I share. There's no vulnerability in that for me.
Right.
But like the things that are tender for me, do I openly share vulnerable areas that I could bleed from right now today? No, I just don't do that.
Yeah, I think you gotta set that clear because I'm transparent in a lot of areas, but I'm definitely not vulnerable with a lot of stuff. And it's much harder for me to talk about things that I'm vulnerable with versus things that I'm just transparent with. I'm transparent about a lot of stuff, and I put it right out there. However you feel about it.
Do y'all view the word when you literally hear the word vulnerability? What is the first emotion that comes to mind? Does the word vulnerable strike fear or weak? Do you think that vulnerability is a weakness? Do you think
I used to think that.
I don't.
And then I found out it was a strength.
Motherfucking strength. It's a superpower.
It really is. Once you start doing it, it's like it's the most liberating thing you could do. Like I come from a military background because my mom's military. I had 2 older brothers. So I tell you all the time, my mom raised me like a boy. So I just like stone face. So I wasn't crying, none of that. You know what I mean? Like even though deep down I'm just like a sensitive little thing. But because of the way I was raised, I just would always have the cold face. Like you wouldn't know what was going on. But once I would say 2017 is when I started my vulnerability journey. I watched this Brene Brown special on Netflix about courage. And I realized that courage really requires a deep sense of vulnerability. And that when you are vulnerable like that, it actually makes you stronger because you're not hiding. You're saying like, this is who I am. So I think vulnerability is definitely a strength. In terms of the transparency question, though, I would say, or maybe the vulnerability question.
Vulnerability part.
Huh?
I said I want to touch that vulnerability part before you jump off of it.
Well, I'll say
go back.
Vulnerability.
Go ahead.
Vulnerability.
Go ahead.
I'm more retroactively vulnerable than present time vulnerable. Like if I'm going through pure hell, I'm not talking about it. Once I get on the other end.
So you're talking about transparency, Denise. You're talking about transparency.
That's transparency, right?
See, go back to Ivory's analogy, and I'm gonna use Ivory's analogy, and I'm gonna talk about fighting. We in the ring, we fighting. I take a shot, and one of my ribs get cracked. That's not a strength. That's a weakness that if you hit me right there, because you know that this is a sensitive spot for me, that's gonna hurt, and it's something that it forces a change in everything else that I do because now I have to protect something. Now, what makes something strong? Now it'll make you more resilient, and the right people around you, they will protect your vulnerability And they're not going to keep hitting you in the ribs when they know that that's a soft spot, but it is a soft spot. It's tender. Now, if my ribs heal up and then I'm like, all right, hey, give me your best shot. No, that ain't vulnerability no more.
I mean, that's a very physical description, but like, remember, I haven't watched 8 Mile, right? But like in 8 Mile, the whole thing is they were battle rapping, and he
did the
about
last verse and said everything about him, right?
Right. So when you feel, it depends on how you're looking at it. If it's physical vulnerability is quite different from an emotional one. You know what I mean? But there is definitely a lot of strength in saying like, this is who I am. And having a vulnerability and sharing that vulnerability also allows for boundaries. Because once I share with you this vulnerability and you choose to manipulate it or take advantage, well, then I know where my boundaries need to be with you, because look at what you did with this information. So remove yourself. No, in fact,
Denise, your 8 Mile analogy don't count. The reason it don't count is because the guy was already about to expose him. So it wasn't him voluntarily putting his vulnerability out there. He was just beating it to the punch before the punch actually came. He was bracing the punch before it actually got there. It ain't the same as, me trying to protect. Because if the guy wasn't going to say that, he wouldn't have said it himself. But since he knew that the guy was going to put all his business out there, it's better for me to do it than someone else.
Right.
So that's not you volunteering or you being open.
But if you start with
that was a protective measure.
Right, exactly. Being vulnerable is a protective measure. This is you saying this is exactly who I am. You can't do anything to me whenever I know who I am, how I am fazed by things, how I'm affected by things. You can't do anything to me. When I'm unwilling to accept that truth about myself, then when you say it's a problem, but I already said it.
So I hear more transparency in this side.
I'm controlling the narrative. You are not controlling the narrative.
Yeah, listen. I don't want to ever be vulnerable with anybody that I have to worry about them controlling narratives or I would never release any vulnerability. Like that's not where I would leverage strength from. This is what I was gonna say though, Nikki, because you said, is it a weakness or strength? And I don't see it as either. When I think about vulnerability,
I think once you survive it becomes a strength.
I don't see it that way at all. I just see vulnerability as being laid open. Like I decide to open my heart, my soul in this purest form, and what it actually looks like right now, whether it's beat up or, because sometimes vulnerability is not even that I'm sad or upset. It's that I'm just really freaking happy about something, and I want to be able to like show somebody how excited I am. Even that can be really vulnerable, because you're like, are they going to celebrate with me? Are they going to? So I don't see it as a weakness or strength. I just literally look at being vulnerable as being laid open.
It is. So coming from where I come from, me being a happy, jovial person that smiles all the time, that could have been a vulnerability, and people take that kindness as a weakness, and then people might try you because of that. That's why y'all didn't meet me until until my much happier days. But I never smiled like out in public and around people I didn't know. Ivory, she didn't have the most pleasant look either. I mean, that's just where we came from, and you couldn't. And it was after a point in time to where I can smile and I can still be secure in myself. And after I've actually did it and I survived it, everybody not gonna come for me. Or I also have the tools to diffuse the situation, whatever the case is. But it's I see what she's saying. I
think there's immense power in vulnerability. I mean, I understand what you're saying in terms of, being laid wide open, but I think the ability to be laid wide open is the most vulnerable space. And in that space, it allows people to come in and experience something in that space that is a common denominator. Because vulnerability doesn't have to be bad things. Like you said, it could be a good thing. I think most people associate vulnerability negatively because of how they've been brought up. Vulnerability makes you weak. Vulnerability makes you a punk. Vulnerability makes you a coward. Vulnerability makes you, whatever. And it doesn't. Being vulnerable, I have grown more power in my own foundation, being vulnerable and laid wide the fuck open, than ever hiding or trying to conceal or trying to manipulate or trying to erase or trying to hide from or lie to myself about A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. And there's so many people who are so afraid of vulnerability because they've been shunned and they've been shamed about things that you better not be wide the fuck open. Whatever face you show to these people better be the fake face. Better be the lie face.
So that's fun. I actually agree with both of y'all.
Right.
Because what vulnerability just opens you up to everything. The good and the bad. It opens you up to receive love. It opens you up to receive criticism.
It's the good and the bad.
I honestly think like vulnerability on your part being wide open as far as a physical wound. Let's do the negative first. You know, on a vulnerability, on a negative aspect, being, you know, like I can say honestly that I was never as vulnerable, as wide open, laid open as I am right now. You know, and I am in it. Like when you say in the trenches of being, you know, in this, I am in it, and I don't care who sees it, you know, and that's healing for me.
Yeah.
There's healing in vulnerability.
For sure.
There's healing in, you know, letting people know, like, yeah, I am fucked up right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I am not okay. You know?
I agree.
And that's vulnerable. That's your truth. That's your transparency. And the fact that you're in it right this second is your vulnerability. Now, being able to be that honest with who you within yourself and being that vulnerable with other people, for me, I can't speak for someone else. It's healing. You know, they say that tears release a chemical that can help you increase your happy endorphins. So on the brighter side of things, when you are elated and you are just ready to expose that part of yourself, you are also being very wide open to somebody that has a negative connotation on everything. And we know that I believe we're all smart people here, that negativity outweighs positivity by 10%. Like it takes 10 times the compliments versus one negative compliment,
right,
or one negative, you know, statement versus 10 positives for you to believe it. You know, somebody says that you're stupid one time and then says you're smart like 15 times, you're still going to hear that you're stupid. You know? So being vulnerable, being happy, exposing your happiness to other people is also a vulnerability. So I do agree with both of you on that. But, you know, there's an understanding in that too, that everybody isn't like you.
Ooh, when you said something, there's a part of vulnerability that allows you to connect with yourself, that connects your body, your feelings, your emotions, all of it together. And one thing that you kept saying, you know, takes one person to say this, 10 people. And that was true. Like one person can tell me I'm stupid and it don't matter how many people don't tell me I'm smart. But when I got to the point when I said I was smart, oh, it don't matter who told me that after that. I'm like, it makes no difference. But that was all of that, the transparency, vulnerability, honest, like all coming together. It was a Bruce Leroy moment when I realized I'm the man. Who's the master? I am. Like, oh, you can't tell me nothing after that. I'm good.
But that's also owed partially to confidence within self too, right?
That's no, I don't think
believing that.
I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think that it came with
confidence?
the knowledge.
You got to have the confidence.
The knowledge.
There's a lot of people who got the knowledge, but they don't have the confidence.
You have to believe true.
The knowledge that you've gained about yourself.
Let me go back to Bruce Leroy.
To be able to walk within that.
I know what you're
Look, let me go back to Bruce Leroy.
It is.
Bruce Leroy at the beginning of the movie, he was breaking arrows and catching arrows and beating up everybody. It wasn't until he believed it till he got the glow. I know that don't mean anything.
Exactly.
Anyway, he had all the knowledge and skills from the jump.
Right.
I got
No,
you,
she
man.
doesn't.
That
No,
movie
wait.
is a
She doesn't
classic.
mean.
Thank
She
you.
doesn't mean knowledge that way. She's like knowledge of yourself, not
Right.
Right.
just knowledge.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Because
okay. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
who
Well,
you
yeah.
are. Yeah, you
this
keep
is
on talking about being knowledgeable.
Okay, yeah.
but
I'm
Knowledge
talking
itself.
about knowledge, your
Hey,
self-knowledge.
Anna, it makes so much sense.
knowledge
because
and
this is
knowledge
why
itself is
people,
two different things.
right?
No, I've
But
been saying knowledge of yourself, but you ain't hearing me.
you would.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
He said
My bad.
knowledge
I'm
of
sorry.
yourself, and it's so important because sometimes people, and it's a little off topic, but think this is why they say that what is the affirmations don't really work because you can't just say something that you don't actually have an experience of yourself about. It's just saying words. But when you get confidence about yourself, like you say, I say I'm smart. Well, I have evidence that I'm smart. I can see things that I've done. I can see the manifestation of my intelligence. So it doesn't matter now if somebody says I'm not smart. Oh no, I have
Disagree
evidence.
about the affirmations. Where did you hear that from?
They said, listen, I'm not a psychologist. That
Who
don't work.
said that? Man,
That's
they
just a
too
cute
much in their
thing.
head. I don't believe that.
Listen,
That's
that's
them.
a
That's
You
cute
got to
thing
keep
that you-
saying it.
them
It's in
new.
the
That's a
Bible.
cute
Affirmations are in the
thing.
Bible.
Them
That's
new.
Right.
cute. That's a cute thing that people came up with. I'm not saying that you shouldn't say the right things, but it's not just about saying it. You have to be about it. And when you're about it, it reminds you, I'm about this.
But
You're
you have to also
confident.
train your mouth to speak those things.
But I'm
You
saying,
jumped out
you
the
can
whole God
train-
factor right there.
you
Whatever
can
comes out
train
your mouth, then
mouth.
it manifests.
For
And
sure.
then I
Okay,
agree
you
with
keep telling
Ivory on
people
that.
that they can just say stuff out their mouth and it's going to manifest, and they have no proof, because there's a lot of people saying a lot of things they wish they were, they wish they're doing, but since they have no track record of any of those things and they're not creating it, they will never have that confidence. The confidence comes from your track record. The confidence is going to come from you walking your faith out.
No,
That's
it
the
ain't.
Bible.
Because
So
if
to
it
her
only came
point-
for your track record, you'd never be no further than where you are.
What about your track record from yesterday, Quinn? I'm not talking about from years.
I'm saying you
Until
cannot
you
get to a
start to
higher
do
level if you can
something.
only depend on your previous track record. You'll never get further if you only depended on your track record.
Confidence in God to do, but confidence in yourself is going to come from a track record of you doing what you say you're going to do.
Man, y'all over there talking like it's Monday show. Hey, Denise, go.
Denise, jump in. Hold on, Denise, jump in real quick.
Denise,
and
go
then you
ahead.
Oh, I got some scriptures for you, Ivory.
Come on.
As a man as a man speaketh, so is he. And what's the other one about saying things not as how they look, but as you wish them
As
to be
they
different?
were.
These are affirmations. This is in the Bible that tells you to speak like this.
From the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks.
We're talking about confidence in yourself.
Hold on.
I got a full circle. I'm talking about you being confident in yourself.
Hold on.
Go ahead, Denise. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Denise.
They going back to Monday show again.
The first piece in confidence.
I missed it.
The first piece in confidence is one, you got to start telling yourself something different. To Q's point. So that means you got to speak it first. So that's even in the Bible. We have the scriptures to back that up. Now, if you want to take it to a mental health scientific standpoint, there's something called cognitive behavior therapy. So
I know about cognitive behavioral therapy.
Right. So how you think affects your actions, and then it goes in this big circle. So when you correct your thinking, you will correct your actions. And sometimes with correcting your thinking, you have to correct how you're talking to yourself.
That is correct.
And that internal dialogue followed with action. That entire internal dialogue followed
I'm
with
not
action
disagreeing with anything you're saying, Denise.
will get you to the confidence point.
No, the confidence. I'm agreeing with the change in your thinking so you can change your actions, because the actions is what's going to give you confidence. Not you saying something out your mouth is not going to give you confidence in yourself. That's not what that does.
But it still starts somewhere, though, Ivory. It still starts.
I get it. But if you start with your thoughts and it never translates into your actions, confidence is never coming.
I know that, but it still has to start with your thoughts.
You can say affirmations to your
I think we should just agree to disagree.
If your behavior does not start to line up with your affirmations, you will never be a confident person.
Right,
I
but you
know.
gotta affirm yourself
It has
first.
to start with a thought, Ivory.
We'll keep saying affirmations
First
in the
things
morning, every
first.
morning, and then live it however you want and wait to be confident.
So you just saying don't say nothing, just get up and just start doing it. Don't make a new declaration or a new thought process for yourself. Just start doing it. It all starts with a thought, Ivory.
Like the word says.
You're not living.
Who says you're not Ivory? Let me take it this deep. Let me take it this deep. The fact that you even went to go find some affirmations to start reading speaks to a modicum of your mindset that you want to be somewhere further than where you are.
Yeah,
that's the starting point. Now, how long it take you to get there, that may be up to you and God.
Our show from yesterday. You're right. You wake up every morning and you say, I'm blessed and highly favored. God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. Yeah, wake up every day and say all of it. And let's see if it make a difference in a month. If you ain't did
nothing. It
can change the way that you wake up. Maybe you don't wake up and say, oh, I hate my job. Maybe you wake up and say, I got a new opportunity to learn something and do something. Like, we
can string them together. Let's see how we go. Tell me where they at in 6 months.
No, Ivory. See, no. So if you want to hold on, if you want to go back to our show, that wasn't what we were saying. And I think your issue with the blessed and highly favored, that's the only lingo people use when they get around other church people. Now, if you say that at home and to yourself, and when you wake up in the morning and before you go to sleep, oh yeah, I think you really will see some change then.
Okay. Oh, y'all, remember? I wanted us to do a theory testing. Let's pick a phrase and say it every day until next Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, I do remember you said that.
It can be any phrase. We all pick a phrase and we stick to it every day till next Tuesday. And then we can see what if and what has changed.
The phrase is Q is a really, really awesome guy.
No.
And we're going to say that over and over and over and over.
Huh?
We're going to keep saying that.
Denise.
Uh-huh.
Denise.
Yes.
You have your Bible on?
My what?
Oh, hold on. It's
Yeah,
1:31. We ain't about to pull out the scripture. We had time. We had time right now.
Hold on. Because I was getting to a point to something that she said, but since you want to do that, never mind then.
Oh God! See, here y'all go.
I mean, we are.
Since she want to do that, never mind. Because I was gonna concept this scripture to based on what Denise said in regards to saying something and manifesting through action. But never mind. It's all good.
No, that's fine. And in all that because we had time right now anyway, so I didn't want to jump into a whole nother category.
No. It was relevant to what Denise was saying, but never mind. You have the time. We can rock.
Share it. We're already
no.
Well, you can keep saying. You can say never mind 15 times.
You could have done it.
Yeah, because you're missing the point. But never mind.
You know, what is it? Faith without works is dead, or something like that. Is that what you're thinking about?
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
Get it, Anna. Look at you. Anna know it.
That's the one. Huh?
Yeah, I already knew because my mind went there when she said it too.
Listen, I knew I knew some people knew where I was coming from.
You can say it all day you want, all the time. You can say
when Denise was talking, it made me think of that as far as like speaking something, and then you speaking it out and speaking it to yourself. And then the manifestation of it that comes behind it. So in essence, it goes hand in hand as far as
but it says work.
Motivated.
So it goes hand in hand.
Hold on.
Yeah, that scripture is more so what I was talking about, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he agreed.
I know.
That's why I said thank you.
He sounded like he was agreeing more with Denise when he was explaining it.
Well, but Denise brought it up, and then I elaborated more on it as well. But it made me think of that scripture in regards to speaking life into yourself and building that confidence, and then the manifestation of that is the work that comes behind it.
There we go.
I think we all are saying the same thing.
We are.
We are, but we're not. Because you're trying to discount the first thing that's first.
Yeah, the first.
And we're saying that you will get to a place of action, but it has to start somewhere. And where we're talking about the starting place is the part that you ain't agreeing with, Ivory.
There are also levels to that affirmations, like the I am, I am. Or and it does go through levels. I've been actually studying the different levels of the affirmations where it's I am oh goodness, I just studied it last week and I just forgot it. But because there's different parts of your chakras, and when you get to your crown chakra, it is that you are
Mm-hmm.
I already am. So you
Mhm.
are,
Right.
I am, I am that I am, that is the highest. So yeah, there are different levels to the affirmations as well. Y'all should look it up. It's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Okay. We at 135.
But we went until like, I think, what time did we get out of there last week in person?
I left before y'all. Once I got my ribs and wings, I was out.
I think we were
I
there
think we
till
stayed till about midnight.
we were
About midnight.
I was there till at least about 11. I was there till 11 something, probably close to 11:30.
okay. Then we were there till midnight last week.
About
It was
Oh
midnight.
yeah.
conversations that just kept going and going and going. And I just want to throw a little tiny piece on this because I don't wrap my I don't
Oh
wrap my
shucks.
I don't wrap my life into to the validity of a Bible, right? So like I live my principles a little bit differently, right? I'm not driven by fear of heaven or hell. I'm not driven by, redemption or not. Like I like eternal damn. Like I'm not driven by those things, right? So my fear levels run differently. However, like as I'm hearing y'all have this conversation, I think about all of my life where I've spent, listening to my dad be in recovery and how, every client who walked through those doors, whether you believed you had a problem or not, whether you thought you were an addict or an alcoholic or not, or you thought that drugs or substances played a part in why you're walking through our doors for treatment, whether you think there's an issue or not, part of the program, you got to go sit in them 12-step meetings twice a week, every week for these next 6 weeks. You don't have to talk. You don't have to share. You don't have to pay. You don't have to do shit. But you just got to go in there and you got to sit. You just got to listen. That's all you got to do. You don't have to like. You don't have to love. You don't have to do a bitch ass thing. Go, sit, and just hear what 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 45 other people who think that they also didn't have a problem when they first walked in there thought too. And you may walk out knowing that I don't have a problem. Maybe this was just my first DWI and I got fucked up and I'm going to take me Ubers moving forward and I'm going to be more responsible. But you're going to hear something in there that's going to start sounding a little bit familiar. Now, maybe you're not walking out of your first 12-step meeting an alcoholic or an addict and I need me a big book and a sponsor and all them things. But you sit around that room long enough, you kind of start to hear some common denominator things. Being in those spaces allows you to then find the vulnerability to say, shit, maybe, just maybe, right? Maybe I need to approach this a different way. There's a ton of people who came through our program who probably weren't alcoholics or drug addicts, but damn sure learned vocabulary and language and the art of communication, the art of vulnerability, the art of transparency, the art of accountability, the art of trauma, the art of healing, just being in spaces, hearing things that I don't even think I need to hear. Somehow later on, I realized I needed to hear these fucking things. So I understand what you're saying, Ivy, to the point of it is about the works, which is why I have a hard problem with religious people. You can't just pray and think the shit's going to be fine. You got to go out there and fucking work. And that's my issue with a lot of people is they don't do the work. They just be judging and judging and judging, and you ain't doing no work. That's why your fruit is shit. You ain't doing no work. You just talking. Whereas there are those of us who talking and walking and walking and talking and talking and fucking walking and walking and talking and walking and talking. So even just telling yourself, bitch, get up, go put a smile on, brush your teeth, put some clean clothes on today. You're gonna be all right. Yeah,
Floss.
fucked up, but you gonna be all right. You eventually start to talk to yourself and yourself starts to listen. And it doesn't mean that shit goes away. Doesn't mean that the day's all automatically better. But when you start speaking life into yourself, you start speaking life into yourself. And unless you are just in a position to where you are shut down to where you're not willing to accept any frequency
Right.
changes in your life, you're going to move. That's why music is a weapon. Frequency is a weapon. Words are a weapon. There's so many things that are created to be weapons. How we speak to ourselves is a weapon, but it can also be a powerful tool.
Well, I
So,
think Ivory was talking more about just taking pre-made affirmations and then reciting them versus you speaking from your own mouth and your own thoughts.
Yeah,
which I still disagree with you, but I just think that's the distinction of what she was saying.
And I was going to say probably where, and of course, I'm a religious person, but I'm coming from a recovery circles for the last 10 years too, and so like the thing that changed in my life was I'm not finna recite. I'm not finna just keep reciting a bunch of random stuff. Like I have to get, like Nikki said, I have to get up. I have to actively engage my own anxiety. Me just praying to God takes it away. And I'm not putting feet to the floor. I'm not talking in group. I'm not sharing with people.
Ain't that what the Bible encourages you to do, Ivory?
Resilience. I'm not doing all of these things. My point was, it's not about what the Bible tells me to do. My point was, I have been reciting a lot of things my whole Christian life, and none of it had been working. Just getting up saying, I'm blessed and highly favored. God, I'm the head and I'm that. Without my feet doing the weekly, daily walking, the moment to moment actions of fighting my own anxiety with God on my side, nothing was going to happen. That's why I don't play with the affirmation thing, because for me, it's just a non-starter.
I don't know, Ivory.
Maybe
it was working.
Okay,
maybe it was working and you didn't know it. Sometimes,
really
just
quick.
Because it don't manifest at the time you thought it was, don't mean it wasn't working. You still got there.
That part.
Really quick though.
Anxiety attacks.
Sure. Really quick. There was an experiment that took place where somebody put something in the jar, and they spoke positive things to what was in the jar for 30 days.
Yeah. It was a plant.
And Yeah, I think it was a plant. Oh, so you guys seen it before, right? Oh, you know what I'm talking about?
Seen it. I've heard about something similar.
Okay.
But I haven't seen it.
Well, okay. Well, I'm gonna say it anyway for those who haven't or are not familiar with it. So, spoke positive words into this plant for 30 days, and the plant blossomed. And then they did the reverse when they started speaking negative things into the plant, and the plant withered and rotted and things of that nature. So the point of me bringing that up is that when you are speaking to yourself to get up and do whatever, it is contingent upon what you say or how you say it, what's in your thought process, in regards to either you just being lazy or laying down, which essentially correlates to being dead in a sense, or you getting up from whatever motivational speech that you give yourself to go out and do the work, is contingent upon what type of what you feed yourself in regards to the words that you speak, or speaking life in a sense into your existence.
Yeah. Let me say something to Ivory real quick. So I'm trying to paint a picture here for you, Ivory.
You go back to Ivory,
because I don't think she's connecting A with B. Maybe you were making these affirmations, and at first it started off in word only, and you just kept saying it and saying it and saying it, and then you're not seeing the results, and you like, okay, I keep saying this, but I don't see any results. What's going on? And from you saying it and wanting it to happen, first was the thought, first it was the saying, then you realize that there has to be action that goes along with that. Then you started putting your feet to the ground and you started seeing change, but it still started with the thought. It started with the words. You realized that the words wasn't enough, but the words prompted you to start moving your feet. And you still got there.
Yep.
No, nobody's manufactured words were ever going to be enough for me.
It was, Ivory. Look at you now.
No, it wasn't. I was in full-blown recovery for years. It wasn't enough.
Ivory, we're not saying that it's enough. We're saying it's the starting point that leads you into the direction to start moving your feet or to start taking action.
It wasn't my starting point.
Based off of what you said, I can say it is.
Ivory, what was your starting point? What was the thing where you were like, I'm making the changes? Were you mentally like, I need to make some changes? What was your thought process?
My thought process was, I don't want to live like this anymore. I have to go get help. It wasn't, let me go in the mirror and do some affirmations.
But what were you saying to yourself during that time? You said, I need to go get help.
Yeah, I don't
You
want to
still
lose my
had
mind.
to
I want to
say
go get help.
something to yourself. I want to get help.
But it wasn't, no, but I'm saying what I didn't do was go to the mirror and be like, Ivory, you're better than this. You got this.
But that's not the
I
only
don't think
way to
that's not what
affirm.
we
So
saying,
That's
Ivory.
not the only way to affirm
We saying
yourself.
the affirmations led you to seek. Ask, seek,
So
find,
I
not
see.
all of that stuff. You
I get
start.
what you're saying.
There was
Okay,
no
so here's.
affirmation though.
I think I understand where she's coming from now. I think in her mind, and forgive me if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in her
No, you're
mind
right,
that
Anna.
she thinks that an affirmation is like, I am enough, I am blessed,
Right.
I am favored. But
That's what I
affirmations,
originally said when we talked about
I am
affirmations.
right,
Yeah,
and
saying stuff in the mirror.
and
No.
affirmations are way much more than that.
Right.
You
Exactly.
can honestly say like, I need to heal.
Yes.
I need to get better. I
Yeah.
need this to stop. I need to get out of this.
Yeah.
And those are still affirmations of a needing to get somewhere different.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
You know? And so
Affirmation is acknowledging the
yeah,
need.
affirmation is just trying to get from a point A to point B mentally.
Otherwise, you'd still be there.
Right.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying.
Well, no,
I'm
no.
speaking of
But
the
this is the problem.
romanticized version of affirmation.
Well, I told you guys what I meant when I
That
said
that
affirmation,
part,
and that's what
Denise
Queen's been
just said.
arguing with
It
me
is a
about.
very
So he's switching it
romanticized.
up now.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm switching it.
Oh,
How am I
okay.
switching
I
it?
told
I'm
you
not.
exactly what I meant when I said affirmations. I
She
said
did.
that those things they
Me and
hand
Denise
you that
told you
say
what we
in the
meant
mirror.
too. I don't think you hearing us.
And you said, no, those are good too. I love affirmations. That's what
I
you
do.
said.
And Ivory, you said you
So you
use.
can't
Well,
switch
your
it up
argument
now.
is you said you
No.
used them and they didn't work, and I said you
No,
used them and look
I
where you
said-
at. I
No,
say they
said
did
in the
work.
context of what I said, the sheet they hand you or the stuff people put on their mirror, say go to your mirror and say. I said, I don't believe that builds confidence in people. I didn't say it was a horrible thing. We were talking about confidence. I said that doesn't build confidence, and it didn't build mine.
I think it did.
I said,
I think
It didn't work for her.
but
She said it didn't work for her.
evidence. Look at where you are now. Look,
That's
it's
not
not the
what-
all
that's not
end
what
all
it
be all, but it's a starting block.
She said she had to try an alternative. She had to try an
I did
alternative.
something different. I didn't say affirmations in the mirror. I didn't do that. That's not what
The
I did.
affirmations led you to something different.
I went to recovery circles that I listened to people share, and I shared, and I realized that I was completely out of control and that I needed to try something different. I didn't do affirmations. I didn't do it. That's not what.
So you were
I know what you're saying,
vulnerable.
Ivory. You started to see the change
You were
at the point of the
you
action.
had to get vulnerable to heal.
I still don't. You don't connect the one and the two.
Nikki
Like
know
you
what
don't
I'm
connect the
talking- Nikki know,
failure
okay.
to the success. No, Nikki agree with me. Nikki agree with me.
I think that she the approach
She doesn't
that
connect the
she
failure
took
to the success.
as far as the affirmations in the mirror, that didn't work for her.
And
So
she
she had to
assumes
try
had
an
she not
alternative.
done the affirmation, that she
An
would have figured that
alternative.
out without
She
it.
had to try an alternative, and that worked for her, and that's okay. Because it's not gonna the same thing is not gonna work for everybody.
I
It's
could
gonna be
argue
different.
go ahead.
So-
I could argue the affirmations led her to down that
Did
path.
not.
I mean, you can say that, but that's not what she said. She's not implying that. She's been
I
saying
know
it several
she's saying
times
that,
over.
but
Like
I
the
don't-
mirror
I
The
don't
mirror
agree.
thing didn't work for her. It didn't work for her, so she had to try an alternative.
She keeps saying it don't.
That-
Ivory, are
and
you
that's-
blessed?
and-
Ivory, are you
and
blessed
that's-
right
and
now?
that's
Are you
what-
blessed, Ivory?
And that's what got her out of her mode that she's in.
You keep, but the end, Ivory, are you blessed? Ivory, you're blessed. Are you blessed and you're happy? Are you highly favored? Answer the question.
I've always been all of those things. I'm telling you, saying them in a mirror didn't give me what I needed to.
Oh, let me-
But
can
do
I
you
ask you a
feel like
question,
you're blessed
Ivory?
right now? Okay.
Can I
So
ask-
you always
can I ask you a
know. You're
question?
playing with words. Do
Ivory.
you feel like you're blessed right now?
Yes.
Ivory, can I ask you a question?
Yes, of course.
But okay, we're gonna be real vulnerable here. We're gonna be real vulnerable here. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Yuhukanan.
You can know what that.
When you were making those affirmations and tried those affirmations in the mirror, did you believe what you were saying?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay. All
I
right.
believed it. And you know how you believe something and you want it to work so bad for you. You be crying and
Well, so you
everything else. You
believed it, but it
believing
wasn't
it through
working.
tears.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
it
don't
wasn't
believe
working.
that.
Okay.
I don't believe that you even have to
So you
believe
like
it.
I tried.
Starting
So you
off,
like I tried this. It's not
I
working. I got to try something else.
I tried.
I
I
got to try something
believe.
else.
I don't think
Okay.
you have to believe it starting off. You just got to stick to it and keep speaking it. You just got to keep speaking it until it starts. Because it's a lot of stuff that we don't believe, but we still speak it, and it still becomes your reality. It ain't about just believing
And you know
everything.
what? Well, this is what I will agree with you, Quentin. You're right. For some people, it might have like taken them so far. I wasn't wired that way, and that just might be. That's just not how I'm wired.
I think you was, and you just don't see it. Denise,
I
He
agree.
not trying. He not trying to hear you. He not trying to hear you,
yeah,
Ivory. That's why y'all was going back and forth on Mondays, man.
I'd be like, what?
Okay.
We not
What
letting
you
this
said,
go.
Denise?
No, we
We not
definitely
letting this go because
one.
I'm about to piggyback off Q, but we gonna be here all night. So I'm gonna just leave it alone.
No, what you said? What you gonna
Once
say?
y'all done went past once y'all go past 1:30 and we'll stop. Like, all right, I guess we're going to 2 hours. We got 10 minutes. Let's go.
Okay, so I believe you saying it led you to the point of action because you're like, okay, what's next? I'm saying it, what's next? The next was, it wasn't that it wasn't working, it was you wasn't working. So then when you started working, it started working.
Oh, she know how the program works. I love
But you
this.
had to start somewhere. It's the catalyst. Talking about it is the catalyst.
I understand what y'all are trying to say, and I really no, I really do. I really get it. I think, and this is why I'm backing up in
Ivory, she's a
tone.
heady Christian.
I am, but this is why I'm backing up in tone. Is because I think when you have certain issues, especially like I said, I struggle with some anxiety, some different things like that. Like some of those things that we've taught people to rely on just doesn't work for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can keep shoving it. And that's what I was getting shoved since I was, a kid. I grew up in church.
Mm-hmm.
If you say it, if you believe it, if you cry, if you stay on the altar, if you say it in the mirror, if you put the scripture, it's gonna work eventually. So I'm saying I get it, and I feel like it does for some people. And I feel like that's not the way my mind was wired. And I needed a complete pattern interrupt where I have to live a very, very practical faith, the way my brain works.
Mm-hmm.
What's healthy for me is to live very practically with God. And so, but I get it. It's not everybody ain't wired like me. Everybody don't need what I need. I get it.
Well, Ivory, if you were still an emotional wreck, which I remember you were, and you were still
Thanks for remembering, brother.
Yeah, I do, definitely. No more R&B for you. She had to take R&B diet. Goodness gracious.
I can't even
away from me.
picture.
I can tell you two talk quite a bit.
But that ain't my point. Like if you were still an emotional wreck and you were not doing well in life and you weren't great with your family at all, I'd be like, well, I guess the affirmations didn't work. But you sitting up there, you keep saying it don't work, and I'm like, well, Ivory, you're doing well. I think they did.
Recovery work.
Right.
Okay, whatever.
I want to tap into that just super tiny little bit because this is a language that Ivory and I do speak that is very common, right? Like there's a lot of languages that we speak that is not common, but we speak this as a
whole lot of words y'all don't speak. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right, but where we do have commonality, it's a fucking strength, right? It's a superpower, right? Because we can have two completely different backgrounds and two totally different philosophical beliefs and still want wellness and healing and righteousness and goodness, right? For most people, right? And especially for self.
True.
I feel like what I hear you saying is being sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? And in recovery, everybody knows that's the recovery Bible, right? Like that's the book of all things Al-Anon and all things Codependency Anonymous is when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you do something differently. And that may be words for some people. That may be actions for some people. That may be full things for some people. But for me to hear you say I've always been blessed and highly favored, I believe that. But there was a part of a lifestyle, and I'm not picking you out. We're just literally using this as an example. So, this is no shade or me trying to pick on you at all. When I hear you say that, that tells me that there was something that wasn't blessed or wasn't highly favored, right? To be in that space where I had a malady, in my spirit. I had a malady in my soul that I was not happy with where something was at in my life. Right. So something took me to this space, that took me to this place, that told me I needed to do something different. And it wasn't just like this magical wind that blew in like we got today here in town. You know, it was some shit that I done been heard a couple more times, and seen and heard and seen and heard, that one day just fucking stuck. And that was the day that you decided enough is enough. Enough is enough. Does that challenge my thought that I'm highly blessed and favored? No, because you're alive and you're breathing. I think if you're alive and breathing, you're doing fucking all right, right? Like, you're doing all right. Shit, you're doing all right. I can do anything up at this point if I'm alive and breathing. But I think that within spaces of religion and spaces of healing and spaces of recovery and spaces of different ways to heal, and there not being a one size fits all for every recovery, because there isn't. I'm a big advocate on it. It's not one size fits all. Words are powerful. Words are the most fucking powerful thing that we have. They're the most powerful, the most detrimental, the most visceral, the most wonderful, the most healing.
Indeed.
And
Hmm.
that's
Keep
where
going.
if I talk negative into me, I'm going to get a negative frequency and vibration. If I talk positive into me, I might not believe it right now, but if I talk it into me enough, I'm going to start believing, I'm going to start thinking, I might start moving in the direction of a more well path, as opposed to this path that brings me sadness or darkness or discomfort, or, and I'm not one for fake it till you make it. I'm not. Don't fucking smile if you don't feel like you need to smile. You don't have to put on a fake face for nobody. And I think that that's where the issue may be for a lot of people, especially like you said, growing up, you're not allowed to challenge things or question things, or no, we don't ask those types of questions. We don't talk about these types of things. Like, that has got to be a very difficult space when you get old enough to realize that, well, damn, why can't I question? Or why couldn't I ask this question? Or why can't somebody explain this to me? Like, I can only imagine the interpersonal turmoil, anxiety, that shit like that causes when I just have questions and I just want answers. And I know what it feels like and I know what it looks like, but y'all steady telling me something different. So yeah, words can be bullshit because you've seen people's words be bullshit.
Yeah.
But I also think that words can be very powerful depending on the place that we're in, hearing them and saying them. Like, I hate when people say, "Oh, I'm so stupid," and I can't this or I can't.
Yeah, I don't advocate that.
No, I think I've reading caught middle-age amnesia. You caught middle-age amnesia because you forgot. You get to a point to where you practice something for so long that you forgot what it was like when you didn't practice it. So when you did used to speak negative and you would make these negative confessions or things like that, and you saw the results either physically or mentally or whatever, but now you've conditioned yourself to a point to where it's not even a thought for you to let that type of negative stuff come out of your mouth or come towards your kids or towards your relationship. You've conditioned yourself. But think about a time when you didn't have control over your mouth and what your life looked like when you didn't have control over the way that you spoke about yourself and your atmosphere.
Oh, no, I don't disagree with any of that. I was just thinking, as to Nikki's point, when I was just saying some things are just different for different people. Like, when I was going through recovery, something I couldn't say to myself was, "You got this, Ivory," or I couldn't. That was language I had to completely throw away. So what I would have to say to myself was, "God, I feel scared right now. Please help me with this thought." I could not pump myself at all anymore. Like, I could not lean anything on confidence I knew wasn't real anymore. Like, I was trying to affirm something inside me that wasn't there. It wasn't real. And so until I was able to build that through some actionable steps, and for me, those actionable steps was just relying on God for every thought, feeling that didn't feel good for maybe a couple of years. So I couldn't affirm Ivory anymore. Because there was nothing to affirm, and I was tired of faking like it was.
Right.
So that was my journey. So that's everybody just has a different journey.
All right, I'll leave you alone now, Ivory.
Yeah, because you over there going hard in the paint like AI shoes on her, man. Like, come on.
It's a very necessary conversation, Q, because I, coming from the background that I come from, I am not like, I am. So I hear what Ivory's saying, right? Because yes, I can't sit here and tell myself you got this. Well, right now, bitch, I don't got this because look what my life is. I don't got this, right? So but that's the when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired part, right? That's the part where it's like, fuck, enough is enough. Like all my shit stank. Like this is just bad. Like everything I've done is not working for me. So
bless you.
I get that point. However, for me, and this is where I struggled a lot with my dad in teachings, right? Because he's a huge big book thumper. He's a very much higher power, having to go to somebody else for strength and guidance, right? Like, so I get that part of recovery, but the other part of me also understands that, at least for me, because I believe that there's obviously a higher power of some sort, but I don't look at it as the same way as like a God or another person, right? For me, that is within self. So I oftentimes I would have struggles in 12-step recovery with people who are atheists or agnostic who are like, but I don't seek outside of self. I have to fix self first. And it's really hard to do that when self is the one that's fucking everything up, right?
Right.
It's a very different dynamic that you have to have with somebody who doesn't necessarily reach for something else for that guidance and has to fix self first. And so it's an interesting dynamic, amongst believers and non-believers and people who get into recovery of any sort. Because recovery of any sort is going to come with a program that you have to work. Otherwise, you're working your fucking program, and that never works. And has to come with like a tiered system in here somewhere, right? And that may be a whole other conversation we have another day. But that deserves to be had because there's a lot of people that want wellness, that want health, that want to be better, that want recovery from so many things that have ruined their fucking life. That they don't know which direction to go. They think that there is only God, or there is only 12 steps, or there is only, I don't know. But so again, when we heal out loud, other people don't have to suffer in silence. And that's the most important part of this to me.
Good conversation, guys. I didn't mind being the person for it.
Vulnerable and transparent.
Inadvertently, right?
Right.
I gotta commend you on being on the hot seat.
Thank you for you are a private person.
I thought it was
look.
for sure gonna be me with all the comments that I made.
We all gotta take our turn.
So next to her husband, along with her husband and her daddy, ain't nobody more protective of her than me. So I knew I wasn't gonna do nothing to hurt her feelings.
Right.
Here we go.
That wouldn't happen. If I thought I was, I'd back off. All right, 202.
So just speak on transparency, right? The intention is never to be hurtful. Our intention is not to be hurtful at all. Our intention might be a you problem, right? Right? But our intention is never to be hurtful here. Like, that's what supporting free thinking looks like. What we just did here tonight. And I don't know if you heard me. I don't know if I cut off when I said this, but I appreciate you, Ivory, for being vulnerable because you are a private person. Some of us are not. I'm very not private, right? Like, so I appreciate when people who are more private come on here and be wide open. So thank you, because you have no idea who just heard you tonight. You have no fucking clue, and I guarantee you heard you tonight. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I agree, because Ivy, honestly, I don't see you as any other way than the way you are. So to even think there was another alternate universe where you were somebody else. You have made so much change that whatever it was, like when I think of you, I think of a very centered, calm person. So it's interesting how big of a leap you made from whatever you used to be. And even that in itself is a testimony to anybody who could be listening. Like, if the first way you tried something didn't work, that doesn't mean stop. Try something else.
Right.
Try something else. Keep on trying until you get it.
Right.
And you might make some mistakes. You might backslide. You may find yourself in it, but that doesn't mean it's over. You
Right.
made one mistake one day. That doesn't determine how the rest of your life will be. It's about being okay with making the mistakes and getting back up after you fall down. As long as you get back up, there is hope for you. Just keep getting back up.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, Ivory, she was an emotional wreck. And you know the bad part about she was emotional wreck like that, and I was emotional from an angry standpoint. Just in, you know, I was a wreck in a different way. And I really do feel bad that I wasn't emotionally mature enough to properly kind of address the needs that she had. I probably did more damage than I did help. But I'm glad she made it through, like, despite, you know, not having somebody. I'm serious about that, like, you know. And now I'm glad I got somebody, you know, just as smart as me that can, when I'm all going off the bridge or I'm emotionally unstable, then I go to her to level me out, and I tell her what's going on. She be like, all right, look, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. I'm like, you're right.
No, guys, it's bad. My mom told me once, this is like fresh out of high school. She was like, can we just like be careful who we date and talk to, because you kind of like hit the floor and you don't bounce. you just stay there.
Yeah.
Like she said, baby, you have no bounce. You know you don't have a bounce, right? I'm like, yeah, I know I don't have a bounce. So yeah, I've learned some bounce.
Moms ain't gave you the free game right there.
Free game, baby. You ain't got no bounce. You right? I don't bounce.
All right, 205. We done?
She's like, I am
I
done. I
think
don't
so.
Yeah, that was great.
Anybody got any last words before we get out of here?
Yeah, totally off subject. Listen, y'all, to all my women out there, stay on top of your reproductive health, okay?
Yes.
When you go to the OBGYN, if you can get a sonogram, get one. You might find some fibroids. You find your fibroids early enough, which are non-cancerous growth, then you can protect your body. Some people find fibroids a little too late. They have to get a hysterectomy. Thank God that wasn't me. But what I'm saying is stay on top of your health. If something feels off, it might be off. Go get that thing checked out. Though, like, I feel like as people of color, we like push past pain a lot. Like to what Anna was saying, like you push past, you just accustomed to toughing everything out. Guess what? At a certain point in time in your life, don't tough it out. Go get some help, see what's going on, and go from there. So I just want to encourage everybody, whether it's your physical exam, your annual physical exam, if it's getting your colon checked, whatever, get all your things done so that you can have a good quality of life in the future when we all old as hell. Okay.
I
And
feel that.
on one more note, I actually I have just got out of a meeting today, and I'm actually creating a movement for my daughter, called Denisia's I2M movement. We'll be putting on a fashion show pretty soon. It's people of color, people majority. So look out for that. I'll be looking. I'm right now going to be looking for models when everything gets set up. So if you're interested, I'll be up here more and on the forum a little bit more. So
Wait, it was breaking up so bad. Was it just me?
Oh,
Was it you?
I heard it too.
I thought that
It
was me since
bad.
my computer always messing up.
Yeah. And,
No, it's fine.
Can y'all hear me?
yeah. Can you? I know you said you were starting a movement for your daughter. That's like the last part I really heard.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
called Denisia's I2M movement. And we'll be creating a fashion show. So right now it'll be the I2M fashion. But we'll be doing series of different things like I2M mental health. I2M, my daughter was half Black, half Hispanic. So, we want to create an environment to where, our cultures are combined and just, just celebrated.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Let us know how we can help, or we can reshare, repost I'm not in Texas anymore, but I would love to, like, whatever you need, if I can help, just like let us know so we can get the word out there.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Absolutely.
All right. Really quick. I was reading the book of Enoch, and it was describing the heaven and hell concept. So it goes into details about what Enoch witnessed during his time.
Go ahead.
I'm done.
Oh,
So we'll bring that up one day.
You got red letters coming here at some point.
Right.
Really?
I'm like, I almost feel like that same subject a little bit.
No, it ain't. It really won't be at all.
No.
Not very. Is very little overlap. That's one of the things I'm interested in, because everything, when you talk about Christian or Christ-like or follower of Christ, what Christ actually taught is not the perception of what people have in this country. But we'll talk about it. We'll see.
There's a lot to say about that, but that's another topic for another day.
Enoch was several thousand years before Christ, and he
Well,
a lot of things that he spoke about was a lot of things that Jesus spoke about appeared almost in contrary of what the law was perceived to be. So
interesting.
Let me ask y'all a question.
Because this is 2:10. These closing words, Anna.
Damn.
You trying to start it back up again?
And it is crank.
And it's Yehukanan fault, because Yehukanan final words was a whole.
It was, you know what I'm trying to get.
I just had to throw that little shekel in the. I had to throw that little shekel in the treasury joint. You know what I'm saying?
Started to mix it on up.
I'm sorry. What were you saying, Anna?
I was actually talking about this with a few people today. This is actually a subject of the day for me. And it is about mediums, connecting the living with the dead, having somebody, talking to the spirit world for you. Like, now they say that biblically they talk about it being wrong. Like, you're not supposed to intertwine. But what I want to know how y'all feel about that. Like, where do y'all stand individually?
I want us to use that
another topic.
I want to use that as a whole topic. We might do that in 2 weeks after the red letters.
Another day.
I'm good with that.
Where's my notebook and my pen?
I was writing down
for another day. And that's gonna open another floodgate. Another topic for another day.
We got medium.
I think, we might do that in 2 weeks.
That's 2 topics. Spirit, like, we can, like, the medium thing could be like spiritual communications across the board, right? Get into different types of spiritual communication. And then we have the book of Enoch.
Oh my goodness.
And then we also have the red letters. So I think these are.
We're not doing the book of Enoch.
No, we're not.
It depends on where we will go with it. I mean, that would just require everybody to commit to a certain level of reading that I know most people may not look to do. Even
I was just saying that
I've read a lot of the book of Enoch too, so I know what you're talking about.
Too, so.
If we're gonna delve into the red letters, I think that anybody who comes to that conversation has to obviously have. You don't have to do anything, but I'm going to obviously do some research as well, right? I would like to be somewhat prepared for that conversation. So I would read. I would read into Enoch for sure.
Red letters.
I only said that because I'm reading it right now. So and I ran into that concept. But yeah.
No, it's a great topic for future conversation. Absolutely.
What's the red letters?
So the red letters is next week we'll be discussing and reviewing the relevance of the words that Jesus spoke. So in the Bible, a lot of times Jesus has his words are in the red letters.
Red letters.
We're not going across the whole Bible or since the beginning of time. We just focusing in on what the red letters say in principle. If they're still applicable today or are they outdated? We're just gonna have a conversation around what would our society look like if they were still relevant, or we kind of abided by some of those philosophies.
I've researched one of his red letters already, and very interesting what I found.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Good night. Y'all have a good one. See you next week.
Good night, y'all.
It did.
Share, like, share, like, share, like.
Oh, like, wait,
All right.
wait.